Hello and welcome to Media Lit, where we treat each piece of media like great literature. I am your host, Randy Elaine, and joining me, as always, is the wise and wonderful Christopher Ingersoll. Chris, how you doing tonight?
Christopher, he says. Wow, that really hit me right in the chest. I appreciate the familiarity, buddy. That makes me feel very warm and known.
Well,
I'm
Chris, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to say, we have some weighty subject matter
Yeah,
tonight, right? So I was trying to, add some extra gravitas to the intro, I guess.
you certainly did. I mean, using that gentleman's full name is one way to do it. I am so good, as always, right? Really excited to sit down with you. For the folks listening at home, this is one of those magical weeks where Randy and I are recording 2 nights in a row for a couple of different podcasts. So just thrilled to be hanging out with my buddy this week. But this night won't be necessarily the laugh riot that Media Lit sometimes can be. I think we've got a heavier one ahead of us, so I am excited to dig into it, but certainly walking forward a bit more trepidatiously than I usually do.
Yeah, and while there is trepidation, there's also some really pleasant excitement,
Mm.
because this is one of our really very first episodes that is constructed largely around input from the podlings and also our friends in the podcasting world. So yeah, tonight we are going to be talking about the 2020 film Promising Young Woman, directed by Emerald Fennell. And Chris, why Promising Young Woman, and why now?
Well, as you said, we got some input from the podlings because you identified so wisely a little bit of a hole in our game here as
Mhm.
Media Lit hosts. Carey Mulligan, through her character Sally Sparrow, became a patron saint of the pod,
Mm.
thanks to our Doctor Who coverage earlier in the year, um, or earlier in the seasons. We named one of our very first extra credit awards after Sally Sparrow, and so it was only fitting that we find time in our Media Lit slate to celebrate more Carey Mulligan. You and I realized we hadn't seen her most iconic
Yeah.
performances. Um, Huge holes in our cinematic repertoire. So you were super smart to go out to the podlings and ask them, what do they think we should start with? If we're going to do a Carey Mulligan sort of season of celebration, where do we begin?
Yeah.
Which Carey Mulligan performance does it need to be? And the podlings were loud and they were definitive. There was some dissension, but
Yes.
pretty overwhelmingly, we were told Promising Young Woman is the place to begin.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a push for Drive, but even the folks who were pushing for Drive were like, but if your focus is on Carey Mulligan, let's
There
go
were
for Promising Young Woman.
There was much of that in the conversation, right? Well, it's like maybe there were other films somebody might recommend first, but for a Carey Mulligan performance, this seemed like the clear answer.
Yeah, and this is one of the performances that Carey Mulligan grabbed, the Academy Award nomination for Best Actress for this performance, which is
Hmm.
pretty impressive. This film grabbed 5 nominations overall. It walked away with the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, which, spoiler alert, I think out of the ones it was nominated for, I think that was the one it was least qualified for.
Based
It,
on some of the conversation around the
yeah.
film, I would think that's true.
That being said, uh, there are a lot of things to love about this film. I certainly love what I think the intent of this film is. And I think it's a great film for conversation.
Hmm.
Um, on the one hand, it's a little bit strange that we're talking about this film without a female voice present. But at the same time, I feel like the people who need to see this movie are men.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's, yes, more than fair. Yes. Yeah.
So,
I'm not certain that it contains, like, the same level of revenge thriller catharsis that other properties might that
mhm,
would maybe make it more attractive to a female audience who want that sense of catharsis in the revenge thriller. Whereas as just a potent bit of, hey, shouldn't you think these things through
yeah.
storytelling? It's good for the guys to be watching this one. So yeah.
Well, if you are a podling and you've not seen this movie yet, definitely consider checking it out. It is a heavy watch with heavy themes, but not without moments of fun and celebration mixed in amongst some very difficult and painful themes. But I'm about to hit you with some spoilers in my quick synopsis. So here we go. A quick synopsis of Promising Young Woman from 2020. Cassandra, a trauma victim haunted by her best friend Nina's suicide and the sexual assault and victim blaming that left Nina a shell of her former self, has also been reduced to a shell of her former self. She has abandoned her goals and aspirations and redirected her energy toward dangerous nights of pretending to be drunk in bars to lure abusers into her web before scaring them straight with the grim reality of their intentions. After briefly clawing out of this dangerous cycle, she gets sucked right back in and ultimately chooses to throw her own body into the gears of the patriarchy to bring Nina's abuser to justice.
Whoa.
What do you think?
That last line really got me. Yeah. I wasn't sure how
Hmm.
you were going to handle this, right? Because like it doesn't invite the signature cheek. You know, you don't want it to
Mhm.
come across as subversive or tongue in cheek at all about this film. But you can't like go beat for beat through the whole screenplay for the folks at home either. So I think in terms of summarizing it, letting folks know what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you still found a bit of wordplay there at the end, which I so respect. Hit me right. Got me good.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll dig into it.
Yeah. Well, as we dig in, let me throw one to you. Like, you know, this was assigned to us. This wasn't one that either of us brought to the table, as is our typical media lit way, right? No previous connections. So, after having seen it, what do you think makes this film worth watching? You know, what does it teach us? How does it connect people?
So, Chris, this is our first two-hander in a minute. I've got a pretty lengthy list here, so I think I'm gonna hit you with my main reason, and then I'm gonna throw it over to you, and maybe we
Okay.
can we can swing back and forth if we have any extra stuff to cover. But I think first and foremost, um, this is about honoring victims of sexual assault
Hmm.
and also the people within their circles who are also victimized by these attacks. It's a film about listening to women's stories. It's a movie about speaking up. Uh, we are encountered with so many moments in this film where people could have and should have stepped up to help us reach a better outcome, and they never did. But when it comes down to trying to honor these victims, I think the one line in the film that captures it for me the best out of everything, it's in the final confrontation between Cassandra and Al Monroe, and she says that, you know, her friend Nina had this incredible lust for life. She didn't care what anyone thought. But after this incident played out, that part of her disappeared. She says it was your name
Hmm.
all over her. It just squeezed her out. And I think, unfortunately, that is a very real reality in the world that we live in. There are a lot of avenues for people to avoid responsibility for this type of behavior, and not a lot of easy avenues for people to find justice or trust or respect in chasing that justice or respect. Uh, Victims of abuse are so often dragged through further pain and suffering. Um, it's like the ultimate ugliest double standard maybe that we have.
Well said. Very, very well said. Yeah, it was potent in that last confrontation between um
Mm,
uh Carey Mulligan's character and Al.
yeah,
Um when she says, "I heard your name again."
yeah,
And it made me wonder the last time anybody said hers.
yes,
Man, that really got to me. That is so friggin' unfair and so true of this world. And I think that's
hmm,
for me what if I were to give you one reason why this film is worth watching, it's like you may not like it when it's over, but it's honest.
yeah,
I think it tries its best. I think this writer director was doing their very best to do something really honest on screen rather than give us something Hollywood. Even if it
hmm,
has its it plays with familiar tropes, it has certain setups that then it really intentionally subverts in really intelligent ways. Um, but none of that subverts the honesty of it. They're never being clever for cleverness sake or tropey for tropiness sake. It all serves the truth of what's being shared. This is an ugly, dangerous world, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And uh, the film, I think, maybe some folks will argue like there are two-dimensional characters all throughout. They have to
Yeah.
be, right? Like, especially the male, like, quote unquote, I don't use the word, the male attackers who then find themselves feeling victimized
Yeah.
after encountering Cassie. These gentlemen are rarely the worst guys that we've seen on screen, right? They're like the kinds of guys who come across as like mostly okay in the world. And this film does a good job
Mhm.
of wrestling with like, no, even being the most okay guy isn't quite good enough
Yeah.
sometimes. Like Ryan, Bo Burnham's character seems wonderful, but even he had that opportunity to be better than just okay,
Yeah.
right? Better than just a bystander. And so few people are that in this world. Her parents could have been better than bystanders,
Yep.
and they weren't. And it's uncomfortable, but it's honest.
Yeah.
And I think the end of this film, we'll get to it, certainly, I'm sure, pissed plenty of people off.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Chris, you kind of brought me to like one of the next items on my list was just this whole notion, it goes hand in hand with what I said earlier, but specifically like just condemning this action of victim blaming. Like
Mhm.
sometimes it was really textbook. We've got, Allison Brie as, what is it? Morgan, I believe is her
Morgan,
character name. At
Monroe.
one point, yes, she says that sleeping around is like crying wolf. It implies that you can't be trusted if you are sexually active. Um, she also says none of us want to admit when we've made ourselves vulnerable. Or actually, I think that's actually Dean Walters who says
That's the
that one.
that's the dean, yeah.
Um, in the most intense moment of this film, where Al, attacks Cassandra. It starts from a place where you could argue there's a degree of self defense, and it very quickly shifts to something very different and uglier. And as he is uh, using deadly force and aware of it, he's screaming at her, "This is your fucking fault." Like even in that moment is incredibly painful and blunt, but it's the most direct version of that. And even after those most intense moments, right? When the officers show up to investigate her disappearance, even Cassandra's own mother and father seem to take some comfort in being like, well, yeah, something was not quite right with her. She had fallen out of balance. Maybe this wasn't unusual for her to disappear. Uh, and Bo Burnham's Ryan is all too happy for what looks like an escape hatch to him.
Mhm.
Yeah, she wasn't in a good place. I'm not lying. That's true. I'm leaving out the most vital details. But all this casual victim blaming.
Yeah. Yeah, really, all of the, um it's ingrained, it's systematic, it's patriarchal, right? Like, this film doesn't give us mustache-twirling, male villains who are, like, scummy, intentionally subversive. They're, like, people who are casually deceptive in the
Yep.
ways that make their lives easier. You've got the dean who will victim blame, who says, "What she gets a couple of these a week?
Yeah.
And was she gonna ruin a young man's life every single time?" Yeah, you are.
Mhm.
Unless you're so programmed by the patriarchal system in which you were raised that you actually believe those words that are coming out of your mouth,
Yeah.
that it would be worse for those boys. But what about the girls? That confrontation, Cassie in that scene is phenomenal
Yeah.
with that dean. Um, yeah, she serves justice around quite liberally, I think, and equally in this.
Yeah.
So she really looks to understand everybody who's involved in a situation like this and the various ways a victim can be failed. And she seeks to create accountability for each facet of that.
Yeah. What really jumps out to me, we're busy podcasters. I don't always get to watch these movies multiple times when we're prepping. But we initially thought we were going to record this a couple of months ago. I
Mhm.
watched the film, and I had the chance to rewatch it last night in preparation for today. And I love that whole sequence in the dean's office as well. But the thing that struck me as a little bit odd the first time through, that struck me as perfect this time around, was the dean's secretary out in the office. When she hears the dean losing it, her response
Yeah.
is laughter and a smirk. And upon further reflection, I was thinking about how perfect that is, because the people who perpetuate abuse are certainly men, but also women. And if you're going into an office to deal with someone, and we've got one or two complaints a week, how many distraught young women has that
Yeah.
secretary sat with in that office, heard them cry, heard their stories, heard them talking to their friends, and then watched Dean Walters send them on their way crying once again. No paperwork, nothing to process. She could clearly hear that whole conversation. And yeah, you can see a little thrill in her face for the way Cassandra's made her feel this.
So well identified. I have a note that says, "Is the dean's secretary in on it?" Like, when she
Mm,
hears the dean starting to lose it, there's a certain, like, knowing smirk that's on her face, and it's not likely that she'd be in on it. I thought to myself, well, perhaps in order to get the appointment, like, Cassie brought her in on the subterfuge, here's
yeah,
"You must know how awful this woman is." I could picture the conversation, right? But even without that, to your point, perhaps she's just seen enough that hearing the dean sound hysterical for once, she could fill in all the blanks. She could
yeah,
imagine what might be happening inside that room, and she obviously felt it was justice.
yeah. Heavy, heavy stuff, Chris. But I also wanted to say, like, there were things about watching this movie that I enjoyed,
Mhm.
because it's a multi-layered, multifaceted movie. At times, this feels like um, a fun revenge flick. At
Definitely.
times, this feels like a comedy. At times, this feels like a romance. At times, it feels like a horror movie and a thriller. It's hard to pin it down into one thing, but one common theme is just condemning all the general male patriarchal bullshit out
Yeah.
there, most especially the myth of the nice guy. Um, I'm seeing you nod your head. I was curious, what were some of the ways they did that really well for you? Both serious, but I actually have some of my favorite kind of fun moments written down on the list here, with some things that were kind of effective for me.
Alright, I mean, let's start fun, right?
Yeah.
We won't keep it dour the whole time, because 'cause you're right, there is, and maybe it's to the film's detriment overall that it can be tonally so
Mhm.
all over the place. Like, there was one point where it felt like comedy, and it definitely should not have,
Yeah.
but we'll get to that. No, early on, like, her little walk of shame in the
Yeah.
beginning is actually her walk of triumph.
Mhm.
That was brilliant. So when that leads her, like, first of all, really great visual storytelling and subversion to give us the what looks like a blood stain down her leg as we see her walking barefoot. She's carrying her shoes, and then her arm is covered in red, and she's eating the messiest, grossest hot dog first thing in the morning to start the
Messiest,
day.
grossest, most phallic hot dog, yes.
Yes. And with that in hand, she gets catcalled by the construction
Mhm.
workers. These are probably our most, other than, no, I mean, like, the 2 douchebags in the bar in the beginning who you think are gonna be the predators are also very two-dimensional absurd.
Yep.
But these, like, catcalling construction guys are about as stereotypical two-dimensional, silly, like, pastiches of male bravado and gross patriarchy and chauvinism as it gets, right?
Yep.
Like, literally, we are construction men on the sidewalk shouting at a woman. It's out of a cartoon.
Mhm.
And then she stops and doesn't scream at them. She doesn't flip them off. She doesn't move a muscle. She just stares at them until they're forced to confront the ill humor of their behavior, forced to
Yeah.
confront the actual embarrassingness, like the embarrassment of that behavior. And
Yeah.
they immediately become defensive, and it's, fuck you. But it's actually quite funny to me when at first, like, they're bothered because they can feel the shame in her stare. They can
Yep.
feel, and it only lasts a second. You can almost tell, like their mother was looking at them. They had, like, that sort of
Yes.
energy about the shame they projected, and then it becomes, pushback, and it becomes anger towards her as they walk away. But, I love the way she was able to silently shame them, like their own
Yes.
mother standing on the sidewalk watching them misbehave.
And a great touch of that, like, metal grapple in the background, just, like, crushing metal as she crushes them with her stare. It was
Ooh,
great
love that.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, The opening sequence of this film is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. This is just the I was busy thinking about boys, like, opening dance sequence of just schlubby men dancing around a bar, hit very close to home to me. Yeah, I could recognize those belts that didn't fit quite the way those men wanted them to fit, but they're going for it, with all the subjectification of women to just see these men put on display. So props to every, day actor who showed up for that and went for it on the dance floor. 10 out of 10. No notes.
Kind of you to shout out those actors because yeah, absolutely, they had to really commit, right, and go for it, and how honest, right? Even
Yeah.
I hope I was never a club guy, right? Fortunately,
Yeah.
thank God, I met my wife at a good time in my life and was didn't have to do much of this,
Yeah.
being out in the world and single and going to clubs and oh my god. The reality of these poor men being mostly the only people who were there, like, the
Yep.
ratio of men to women is horrifying, and they think they're out for this hot night on the town,
Yeah.
and in fact, they're all, like, just a bunch of dopey fish bumping into each other in a very crowded sea,
Yeah.
sloppily. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very well identified, I love that.
The one other thing I'll shout out is, and I think this might be a scene you were hinting at a few minutes ago, but kind of leading into this. At one point, she's getting ready for her night out. She puts on these different characters for the different bars. We see her in this sort of like lawyery, businessy bar. Later she goes out to a much tackier bar, and she's watching this YouTube video, a makeup tutorial for quote unquote perfect blowjob lips.
Yep.
Uh, which is both so absurd and so realistic and so the male fantasy she is fishing for to punish on that particular night. Um, I thought that was a really great detail.
Yeah. It's, again, honest, smart, lived
Yeah,
in. This film feels very true to life. Um Yeah, you mentioned that this film subverts the nice guy trope
yeah,
so well, and I guess this is not fun. This is in the first 6, 7 minutes of the film,
yeah,
but it is brilliantly done. You've got Adam Brody's character. He's one of the
yeah,
first dudes we meet in the bar. Like, "Oh, familiar face. Okay, let's see what's
yeah,
gonna happen here." Clearly, he's the one I'm supposed to be keeping an eye on. He rolls his eyes at his more openly gross friends,
yep,
saying all the worst things about this woman they're observing in the bar. She might as well be asking for it. What is she thinking being that drunk and being alone? Where are her friends?
mhm,
Oh my gosh, somebody should. And then the friend who's rolling his eyes at these two dopes says, I'm just going to go check on her. He plays the nice guy even to himself. Like that Adam Brody character isn't faking it knowingly to his
yep,
friends. He has no reason to pretend to be just going to check on her to his two friends who were like openly talking about if he openly went and said, I'm gonna go see about that, they would cheer him on the same way they already cheered him on when he was pretending to be the nice guy. So the performance isn't for them. And it's not to trick the girl. The girl's already gone.
yeah,
But this woman is too far gone to need any kind of trickery.
yeah,
So all that nice guy behavior is for him.
yeah,
It's so he can lie to himself up to the point where he does the wrong thing.
yeah, yeah. Because I'm with you. I thought that opening sequence was really well executed. Like,
Mhm,
I think he mostly believes he's going over there for the right reasons at
mhm.
first. We don't get his whole internal monologue, but I imagine it's something like, "Oh yeah, she's gonna sober up. I'll get to know her for real, yada yada." One thing. Um, but yeah, the intent's always there in the background, whether he wants to admit that or not.
Yeah, or like the hope, right? Like he thinks he's being the good guy, but hey, if maybe that will pay off. Maybe this turns my way. Maybe she sobers up. Whatever it might be. Horrifying. And then, yeah, the first time we get to see her turn on one of these men and
Yeah.
watch the reaction on their face. And yeah, Adam Brody is really great in that moment where he's just like horrified to realize she's sober.
When those eyes blink open,
Yeah.
whew, and at this point in the movie, I went in pretty blind, so I didn't know,
Yeah.
like, is she gonna kill this guy? They let you wonder that for quite a while in the movie when you're a first-time watcher.
I think for quite a while, you're not
Yeah.
sure what level of violence, she's enacting or enabling throughout
Yeah.
this film. You're not sure when it comes to Madison McPhee. I got the name wrong earlier, Madison McPhee, it's Al
Yep.
Monroe. Um,
Thank you, yep.
yeah, you're it's not really until, like, the daughter moment with the dean, like,
Mm,
"Oh, okay, she's just messing with people."
yeah,
Um, you know, yeah, she really sells it, and she seems dangerous in that moment, and it's brilliant, and
yeah,
it's exciting. It really is exciting in that moment. You don't have to see it, you can just imagine.
yeah.
And I like that the filmmaker is inviting us to wrestle with that. Isn't that
Mm,
like, we witnessed very little, right? We're so ready to dive in and be like, "Yeah, give me the revenge stuff.
mhm.
Give me that revenge violence." Because because we know how effing true this is in the world.
Yeah,
We don't need a bunch of context about Adam Brody's character. We don't need, like, this is enough. We know the backstory. We can imagine how many times this has happened. It's brilliant.
yeah, how'd you feel about the McLovin scene?
Dude, again, like, this film shouldn't be as funny as it is sometimes,
Yeah,
but it casts a lot of familiar comedians. There are
yeah,
faces in this that not that they're not good performers and they're not giving
yeah,
something solid, I just can't help but, like, there's McLovin bent over a tray of cocaine.
yep.
It was hard to, like, that character was such a dope, such an absurd, familiar stereotype of a dude, this, like, pseudo-intellectual nice guy.
You know, just like what it's like to be like a man today.
It's just like and yeah, I'm writing a novel, I'm working on a novel. An absolute douche, right? Um, watching these guys go through like, watching him go through his anger phase, and, like, for a second, like, he thinks he's gonna be intimidating to her, and he has absolutely no power in that room.
Yeah.
He's weak and pathetic. Brilliantly performed. And, like, that again, that's a scene where you're having fun when you're watching this.
Oh, yeah.
The first scene, I also came into this really blind, so I didn't know if we were gonna witness her initial trauma or a trauma that
Mm,
further informs, like, I thought it were possible that a past trauma is reawakened, right? Like, a friend's trauma is then, like, brought back to the forefront because of her
mhm,
own trauma. So I thought we were gonna watch Adam Brody, like, actually physically harm her.
mm,
And so that's why I messaged you. I was like, 6 minutes in, I'm already very pissed.
yeah.
Like, I wasn't gonna be able to sit through much of that kind of thing. So that one, it turns, and I'm, like, relieved
Yeah.
and ready to believe that, like, maybe she was violent with him. Great. But then it comes down to that McLovin moment, and now, like, you're having fun with this. You realize she's totally in control. She's doing
Yeah.
this on purpose. You can't wait to see how she gets the next guy, and yeah, um, brilliant. I don't know
Yeah.
how she avoided the nummy. She seemed like she did something to try and, like, tuck it away and then pull it out, but, like,
Mm.
she unfortunately ingested some amount of cocaine when it was rubbed against her gums. It just is what it is.
Well, and I think that's like a reminder too that like, what she's doing is dangerous,
Mhm. How many
right?
fake sips from drinks can she get
Um,
away with?
and honestly, maybe that's the last thing we should cover before we get to I mean, this is the main category here, but before we get on to the other categories, right? Like, it's not just the victim blaming, but it's the peripheral victims. Cassandra didn't go out with Nina that night when Al Monroe assaulted her. She wasn't there to save her friend. She ends up in this horrible situation. She's got so much regret. And she is playing fast and loose with her own life. We get another very like one note character. I was thrilled to see Alfred Molina show up as the too good to be true lawyer full of regret,
Yeah.
who wants to be punished, but she wants to be punished as well. She is pushing that envelope on purpose. And the one time you see it really register with her is after she goes after that guy's truck with a tire iron.
Mhm.
It starts out as ecstasy, but then this revelation of like, what road am I going down right now? Like, where is this going to end? Um, that could have ended very badly for her. There was already this belligerent man swearing at her, yelling at her, and she goes after his truck with a tire iron.
Yeah.
I was very worried for her safety in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
also infuriating too, because
Yeah.
why is he yelling at this woman who he found, like, with her head down on the steering
Yeah.
wheel. Maybe ask, "Are you okay?
Hmm. There's
Like,
a question.
what are we doing, people?" She was
Yeah.
stopped at an intersection. That was infuriating. Oh, perhaps something is wrong. Anyways, yeah, she is playing fast and loose with her own life. I think that this film does a good job of fleshing out the revenge seeker, right? I think sometimes in stories like this, it's easy to like make this person just like an avatar of
Yeah.
all of the people who have ever lived through this. And they're getting revenge for everyone. Therefore, they are themselves really no one.
Yeah.
But Carey Mulligan, her character is very much someone. We get to see the impact that this rut she's in, and that's too loose. That's like too light a term, but
Yeah.
she's stuck in her life. She can't change direction. She's dropped out of medical school. She's chosen like what for her is just a dead end job on
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
That's what she wants it to be. She wants it to just be, I show up, I do my shift. I have this one person I talk to all day, no friends, no intentions to do anything with her life other than go chase this high
Yeah.
every weekend or maybe even nightly. It's not clear how often she's doing this, but she's like miserable during the day. She goes and chases this high
Yeah.
of seeking this catharsis, teaching this lesson
Yeah.
to just one man at least. And then it goes away and she's back into depression until the next
Yeah.
time. And it is only a matter of time before that gets her killed, just like with any drug, with any addictive behavior, anything that we seek um, to help us bury our pain and hide from it. It eventually turns toxic. It is telling that she gets increasingly violent. We hinted
Yeah.
that this film subverts the expectation of violence. She's never actually doing anything that would like really get her arrested, right?
Yeah.
If any of these guys were to report any of these things, they would just look like assholes
Mhm.
who got, right? And then there's the tire iron moment, and you can
Yeah.
see she's slipping. You see that affect her.
Yeah.
And then when I called this film honest earlier, I think it's part of an interview I read by the creator, Emerald Fennell, that for the moment when Cassie finally goes all the way to violence,
Yeah.
she's now going to carve her friend's name into this person's flesh,
Mhm.
right? She's like crossing a line for herself, even if she's never defined that line. We as the audience see her escalating in that way. Unfortunately, it is true in the world that probably goes bad for her when that happens. That she's
Mhm.
intentionally put herself in this very dangerous position. And while we as film goers would like to root for our hero and imagine that they're just going to get out of it, that's not really the world,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, this film may feel cathartic at times, but it's far from an encouragement or an endorsement of seeking this kind of, it's not. I don't think this film's going to create any copycats,
Yeah.
and because of the honesty with which it shows the impact this kind of behavior would have on your life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why it was so great to watch it for a second time because so much of my first experience was just marked by the anxiety of like,
Mhm.
what will she do? What will happen? Um, to go back and watch with a clearer head was a different experience. I could think about it on a more intellectual level for sure. So I think we've dug into the biggest themes here, and I'm sure we'll find ways to go further down that road. But for the next section here, I want to dig into some of the characters, the performances, and just like other members of the creative team who deserve to be shouted out here. We've been giving Carey Mulligan her flowers, but I think there's probably more we can say there. Um, she absolutely deserved a nomination for Best Actress
Mhm.
for this performance. It's incredible. We've noted some of what makes it work, but what else do you want to say about this particular performance from our girl? She's the reason we tuned in the first place.
I mean, this role is something like an actor's dream, right? It's almost like
Hmm.
playing split personalities. You get to see her putting on these costumes, going out and becoming a certain type of woman for a certain moment of any given night to enact her revenge. Watching her do that each time, watching her uh, do the performance, then come out of the performance, watching her flip that switch is just so wonderful as a performer.
Hmm.
And that's not as easy to do as somebody might imagine. She does it so convincingly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Carey Mulligan in a ton of stuff, but I couldn't get over just the expressiveness of her face. She does
Yeah.
so much with a sideways smile and a certain cock of her eyebrow. With
Mhm.
nuance, she's able to convey an extreme range of emotions. This is far from like some dour, depressed woman, right?
Oh, yeah.
When she's living her life, when she's at work with her boss, there is fun there. This is a person you can imagine it would be like you can see what Ryan is immediately attracted to when he walks
Yep.
into that coffee shop and granted they have a history, but you can see why even when she shows herself to be really concerning, right? Like if you're from Ryan's perspective, without any of the context that we as the audience have, she tells you she wants to go home and can't go to the movies, and then you see her outside of that
Yeah.
club with that. From his perspective,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
so many red flags, but there's something
The
about her
fedora, of course, the biggest one.
unforgivable. Dude, how charming. That's that's exactly perfect. She, in that moment, is giving something so authentically charming. You can imagine why this person can't help but the next
Yeah.
day still be enamored. What does he call her? You mean asshole or like when he
Miserable
show
asshole or
yeah,
something like
miserable
that.
asshole. Yeah, you
Yeah.
miserable asshole, and he shows up to kiss her for the first time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, her performance really helps to sell all of that. She
No, yeah.
isn't, like I said, like dour and depressed and then hyper violent with men. She is like everything in between. But when she is
Yeah.
broken, when she is in those quiet moments with like just her screensaver, she's brilliant.
Yeah.
Really, really strong.
Yeah, could not possibly agree more, and, like, just gives us so many looks, we talked about that McLovin sequence. She can do this, like, sort of vengeance queen badass thing. I think my biggest laugh in the movie is, like, at the end of her whole speech to McLovin, she says, "You wanna fuck me still?" And he just goes, no, thank you, ma'am,"
No, thank you, ma'am. He says, yeah.
which is the perfect, end for McLovin there.
Yeah.
But then, like, she can do the comedy, right? When she picks up the dean's daughter with this story about the boy band at the bar, and this teen girl is so full of excitement. She's like, "I can tell, like, this is fate that we met here today." And yeah, Carey Mulligan sure seems like it, huh? With like this little eye roll, like just out the corner of her eye is perfection.
You can tell her character is so intelligent.
Oh yeah.
Like, so and she's funny because she's intelligent. She's ahead of every conversation she's in.
Yeah.
When she is able to take the blow of Ryan having discovered her that night outside of the club
Mhm.
and still manage to turn her words on Sam Richardson's Paul character, the fedora guy, to the point where he then, "Why do you have to ruin everything?" He runs away with his arms down crying. It's
Another comedic genius that you mentioned, right?
yes, really, as soon as I saw him in the film, I was like, "What am I in for?"
He won't pay for the ride either. Like we can walk to my mom's house.
To my mom's house. So 1.2 is the surge pricing. It's yeah, so again,
Yeah.
you believe that she could reduce that man to tears just by being, like, more firmly mean than a man really cares
Mhm.
to have to stand up to in the world.
Yeah, and again, I can't relate personally, but, like, I love the first sequence, with Alison Brie, who we love so much from our community rewatch. But, she's bringing that obnoxious,
Oh,
braggy friend energy to the extreme. And so many women out there have someone like that in their life that they would love to be that sarcastic with. If there is anything joyful and cathartic for a female audience out there, I feel like it's got to be that sequence. Granted, you're worried what she might do to this character, but once you know that it's still something very cruel, but not an actual physical assault, it's a
yes.
little bit easier to take. But
It is cruel, and you can say, like, "You know what? She deserves it." Like, that is the kind of, like, perfect, to the line, you didn't
yeah,
cross a line revenge that we like to see. But I do think, unfortunately and maybe, again, this is why this film is so complex. That
yeah,
scene, I do think, is purely cathartic. You hate Madison as soon as she walks in and sees
it'll
that.
happen for you.
Oh, dude, you'll get
Jeez
there.
Louise.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
You can just imagine every woman in the audience cringing when that woman says that because they've so frustrated. Then you watch her
Yeah.
guzzling her wine, guzzling and
Yeah.
guzzling. And so to know that like she's gonna get revenged upon is like that scene is really cathartic.
Yeah.
Watching, Cassie be sarcastic with her and and know that she's really the one who's in control. But then I think I was, like, pretty horrified and disappointed in Cassie
Yeah.
when she leaves that bar and sets Madison up to seemingly get abused.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, that one was the one I most needed to find out, like, what did you really do, though? Like, what actually happened? Because when she goes to see Alfred Molina,
Yeah.
there's that guy outside the house who I think she was gonna pay to
Yeah,
go.
she's hired a hitman.
She right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else you read that.
I don't yeah, was he gonna go in and just scare him some more? I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so, yeah.
So, until Alison Brie finally comes to the house later, and because Cassie now is in a more healed place and she's in her happy relationship, she's able to let Madison off the hook a little bit, and you
Yeah.
find out, "Oh, thank God, it isn't what I thought it was," and, like but up to that point, unfortunately, I think a little bit to the detriment of the flow of the film, I was, like, feeling really uncertain about being able to root all the way for Cassie after the
Yeah.
Madison moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think for me, the last person to shout out here, the the person with the next most work to do is Bo Burnham,
Mhm.
in this movie because, there's never a moment in this movie where he's a perfect guy, right? You know, he's a tall guy, he's a handsome guy, but he's not like your, like, textbook, like, Hollywood hunk figure, um
Yeah, he's like Jim Halpert turn the dial down, like, even 2 more notches away from a classic leading man from Jim Halpert, and you've got Bo Burnham.
Yeah, and, you know, he is this, in many ways, likable dude. He's got some sense of humility, but he's also a little bit of a jackass, you know, like, he's so condescending to Cassandra's parents when they go over for that dinner, like, he's so deeply sarcastic. He's got no time or interest in these people. Um, well, I do not think he was gonna cross the line into a sexual assault. The way he lures Cassie to his apartment on that first date that she was so reluctant to go on in the first place. The signs are there. And even the fact that, you know, he more or less calls her a failure to her face during the meet cute,
Mhm.
right? She spits in his coffee. He thinks he's so charming. She's not actually going to spit in the coffee, which is a great moment.
Yeah.
You know, he does take it and take the sip. So there is that. But yeah, he's got to play this fine line. There are all these sort of degrees of awful the men in this movie are, and he fits into a unique spot. You know, he was never
Yeah.
going to go to that bullshit bachelor party for Al
Right.
Monroe. He knew what kind of shit was going to go down there. But part of the reason he knows that is because he saw something happen
Mhm.
and did nothing.
And did nothing. Exactly right, yeah. I do think you're supposed to see it like, I think Cassie sees it as, like, oh, more of a green flag. Like, of course, he invited her upstairs like everybody else, but then, like, he really
Hmm.
does say, "Yeah, okay, I'll see you. My bad. I totally messed up, and I'll see you." And he doesn't push, and he doesn't insist that he drive her home at that point. He's like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I am now home. I guess I'll just stay here. Sorry about that." Throughout the film, you're really being set up to think
Hmm.
like, "Oh, this guy might actually" like, yeah, he's not perfect, like, you can roll your eyes at him, but you can also be charmed by him in the same way that Cassie is, and Bo Burnham, I think, does a great job of
Yeah.
playing that out in a way that, that whole, what is it? The pharmacy montage. At that
Yeah.
point, things tonally confusing that we go into this whole, like, to your point, feels like a rom-com. We're singing Paris Hilton, but it's also a ton of fun, and he's very
Yeah.
charming, and you can see why it works, why he's able to break down these walls that she's built, 10 layers deep over 7 years.
My beloved wife notoriously walks in on things that I'm watching at like the most obscene and uncomfortable moments. But this one time, she walked in on that sequence, and the look in her eye was like, "Do I want to watch this movie? Like, they're singing
Yeah.
Paris Hilton. Like, this looks cute."
It looks so cute, especially
Yeah,
when Cassie joins in. Now she's lip syncing it too. It's really truly
yeah,
wonderful. And they're intercutting it with scenes of their romance, and yeah, they do a good job of at letting you know as the audience by the end. Not even him, guys.
yep.
Not even him. Um, but Bo Burnham is tremendous in the role. I do think it's weird that they choose like some people like the spit thing. I feel like they were bordering on like a real life kink there. I almost
Mm,
thought like when he says like let's go out like you can spit in my coffee some more or whatever, like invites her out to like there could be a world where he actually is like, "Oh my god, did you spit in my coffee? I'm gonna
Yeah,
sip that." Little bit of a weird choice in a film
yeah,
that was otherwise examining
yeah.
strange escapades. Um,
We do have a couple of heavyweights playing Cassandra's parents.
Thank
How do
you.
you feel about those performances?
That's where I was going next. You
Yeah.
read my mind because these are the only 2 actors who managed to keep me in the film despite their really
Mm,
heavy-hitting presence. Huge, huge compliment to Jennifer Coolidge
yeah.
as Susan the mom. Even her iconic voice doesn't come through. She's working so hard to really be this, like, quieter, like, just sad. Every time we encounter these parents, they're in a sad, downtrodden place, except for that one cute time on the couch, which they just, like, seem like just so
Yeah.
comfortably in love. They're wonderful together, their chemistry is great. Jennifer Coolidge manages to never
Mhm.
once and that would be a me problem,
Yeah.
but I know her from so many things, and it's not just the dark hair and the
Yeah.
subdued voice, it's her whole performance that really makes you believe this mother who is concerned for her daughter, but, like, expresses that in the wrong ways, is in touch with it in the wrong ways. "All my friends ask me about you, and I don't know what to say,"
Mhm.
which is me trying to say that I'm worried about you, but
Yeah.
actually it's, like, through the me filter, like, it's a
Yeah.
neurotic mom type that you absolutely can relate to, and she portrays it really well.
And her real sadness and fear is coming to the surface. But yeah, props to her because I love what Jennifer Coolidge can do on screen. But she's one of those actresses who anyone ever really asks for a subdued performance from.
Mhm.
And it's so great to see her have a chance to bring that. She has that particular brand that's really fun and the right place that I love. But yeah, this was really refreshing.
And then you wanna talk about an iconic voice,
Hmm.
Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
How does he manage to make himself small in this? Clancy Brown is never small
Yeah.
in anything he's in, right? Like, he has a physical presence and he has that voice. In this, maybe it's because he's always seated on the couch or he's at the table. We always see him in this home, in this,
Yeah.
like, comfortable, domesticated
Yeah.
setting, but he does feel quite small because he's just like this man who's concerned for his daughter, doesn't quite maybe have the emotional capacity to really reach out.
Yeah.
In that scene, when after the dinner with Ryan, when he, like, you could see the joys in his body, he's almost on his
Mhm.
tiptoes. Like, he's almost on his tiptoes in the kitchen as he's leaving because his daughter might actually be coming back to the surface.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's saying right things because 'cause they're honest things from his heart, but they're not really right
Yeah.
things to be saying to his daughter.
Yeah.
They show a lack of understanding really for what she's going through. He's
Yeah.
in touch maybe with what he he's been going through as he's been missing his
Yeah.
daughter, as he says, but he's not anywhere near understanding what she's
Yeah,
going
they're
through.
so not equipped for it.
Yeah.
But damn it, is he lovable when he is genuinely proud of his sauce that he made.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. No, it's true. They make a really lovely little, like I
Yeah.
said, domesticated is the right word. They seem so happy. Like, they don't
Yeah.
need to be anywhere outside those 4 walls.
And by the way, shout out to Gail at the coffee shop for trying her hardest to be like the ultimate cool friend that Cassandra needs.
Yeah, she's like cool friend slash boss, like, walking
Yeah.
that fine line. Yeah, no, absolutely a key performance in the film. Um, but yeah, I think we did Alison Brie. I think I feel pretty
Yeah.
good. That about does it. Alfred Molina, always put him on screen for a minute and a half, and he just might steal your film.
Yeah. He made me believe it, even if he, it was just hard not to see him as this too good to be true savior, the cog in the machine that we need to make this whole thing work.
Yeah.
But man, someone's got to feel guilt at some point, right? I want to believe that.
You wanted to believe that because even our best guy, and this is again a place where
Yeah.
Bo Burnham really shined, when his back was against the wall, when he was threatened now by Cassie and she's got the video, he gets so ugly so fast
Yeah.
in that scene, calls her a fucking failure.
Yep. He's
Before
been
she
waiting on that one since the first meetup.
obviously, right? So even he, um, isn't really remorseful. He's worried, but all these guys come back to, "We were kids." and we didn't.
Yeah.
So somebody had to, even if, to your point, like, especially as like a media literate person, you can
Yeah.
see, this character is going to be important later on as like,
Yeah.
like you can see
Uh,
it there.
we also can't forget, as Gail points out to us, he kills kids.
Right. Right. That is an interesting little seed that she chooses to plant really early on. That's a
Yeah.
fun bit of now. If I do rewatch this with
Yeah.
Kelly, that's going to feel like a little bit of foreshadowing instead of just like
Yeah.
what's meant to be darkly funny.
For sure. I mean, like it's wordplay, but it also is like a little bit of a nod to I know you have the most perfect sounding job to pick up a woman, but I'm
Right.
watching you is the
Mhm.
vibe I get from that.
I
I
like that.
like you. I like this for her, but I'm not fully falling for this facade.
I like that. I like that
Yeah.
a lot.
All right.
All right. I think that does our performances probably. Let's talk a little bit about the filmmaking because this is a stylish film.
Yeah.
What elements of the craftsmanship do you think are really on display here that make some lasting impressions?
Yeah. Right off the bat, I'm going to hit you with a little Trinity. We get this very blatant Christ-like and angelic cinematography of Cassie.
Mm,
And that first sequence when she is doing her drunk girl sit with both of her arms raised up at her sides, putting herself up there on display to draw this attention to herself. We get it there.
brilliant.
But the decor then in this home, it's wildly ornate for this humble suburban home.
Baroque, even.
Baroque. If it ain't Baroque, don't fix
Don't
it.
fix it.
And she hasn't for many years, it seems. But yeah, like her the head of her bed frame is very ornate. It evokes angel wings, and we get after this Al Monroe reveal, this very dark shot of Cassie in bed in the shadows. She looks like an avenging angel, a weeping angel, if you will, Kris. And we get another shot of this later when Madison comes over. But yeah, like this avenging angel. She is the dark angel, the light angel, all at once. She is the sacrificial lamb. And, I guess I called it a trinity, but I guess we've really got to cap it off with that very distinct ray of light upon her fallen body at the end of the film. I mean, that's the biggest like banging the drum. Hello, I am doing something here with my cinematography, uh, and it's big and it's loud, but I liked it.
Totally agreed. Absolutely
Yeah.
agreed. Yeah, really brilliantly identified. I can see it in my mind's eye now. The crucifixion imagery right in that opening scene in the bar. Brilliantly identified. Um, and I like to when you highlighted that bedroom scene, the choice to light or at least to give us the impression that it's being lit solely by her laptop screen. So she's in the
Mm,
dark shadow, and then the screensaver of she and Nina comes back up, and she's in
yeah.
the light for just a second, and then she's back into the dark. And then there's she
Hmm.
and Nina once more when the screensaver comes back up, and then she's back in the dark. And then she hops on to
I think it's Friender.
Friender,
Yeah, yeah,
to look up
yeah.
Al Monroe. Yeah. Um, for me, one of the most, I mean, this film is truly visually stylish, but it's also like sonically really pleasing. There's some
Yeah.
excellent needle drops throughout this film.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I'm not one to celebrate the discography of Paris Hilton, but gosh darn it, does it work in this scene?
Oh
It's like
yeah,
the perfect ridiculous pop thing for them to be having this like rom-com music montage to. It's tailor-made. Angel
yeah,
of the Morning, you get, this really dark It's Raining Men cover.
yeah.
Dude, there's a line so this is where she's about to go to the
Hmm.
bachelor party, and it's gonna get real.
Oh yeah,
And I heard the line in that song for the first time where they say, "Finally, it's raining men." And I thought to myself, "Damn, in this context, that is very cool." I thought we were about to go have a bloodbath of
hmm,
men in this bachelor party. Um, but yes, that's a phenomenal cover leveraged in this. And then there's you've got "Toxic" by
yeah.
Britney Spears. I think totally instrumental. I so assume it's a cover. I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah,
anything about the track, but
do you wanna I'm not a big fan of hot takes, but I do have one. for the
Oh,
podcasting and analysis community. I've got no patience for the people out there who try to act like they're above instrumental covers of pop songs in movies. Uh, they're cool and often very effective, and it's okay to like them. I just
yeah,
want you to
guys.
know
Thank you.
that
Thank you
that
for giving
toxic
from
needle drop rules. I love that, and that doesn't get old for me. Give me another trailer with another instrumental cover of Nirvana. I'm here for it.
thank you. These things resonate with us. You don't have to pretend to be too cool for emotions. Music
Yeah.
is emotional, and some of it is, like, literally engineered to hit the right emotional buttons inside of you. Just give into
hmm
it. It's cool. Love that.
I've got three other little production design things to shout out. Just little things I loved. We talked a lot about Ryan, and I just love the way they filled his pediatric medicine office with the little cute notes from kids thanking him to have
Mhm.
that additional reality surrounding him as we see his flaws come to bear on screen is a perfect choice.
Absolutely. And it's first there, or it's there again later when now the police officer, the detective, comes to question him,
Yeah.
and you're just sickened by how
hmm
jovial this officer is as he walks into this office.
Absolutely.
"Thank you for all you do for our community," he
Yeah.
says. And there it is on the walls, right, surrounding you, all these lovely little cute pictures from his patients.
Perfect. Yeah. Another production design. I don't think we needed it because it comes through in the performance, but I love that they went for it and just really went and turned the volume up to 11 on like just dusty male patriarchal portraits outside the dean's office.
Yeah.
Both to let us know what the dean's going to be like and also to remind us that, part of the pressure on her to uphold this system is this male dominated job that she's had to probably fight quite hard to find her way into in the first place.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Surrounded by men. Maybe she's been in the position for 7 years, right? We know that,
mhm,
um, yeah, she's been dean for a while, but sad statement and a potent one. Um, a shout out to the costume design. Every single time we watch Carey Mulligan take on a new look,
mhm,
a new way of attracting a different type of douchebag in a certain type of bar setting, culminating ultimately in that rainbow wig nurse
yeah.
outfit. Um, it's just perfect, and it's
It's very,
bold.
Blink-182 meets Kill Bill.
Well said. Very well said, yes. Um, it there's a lot of really vivid color in this.
Mm,
Like, if you go and you watch that pharmacy sequence I'm describing, for some reason, it's the least white pharmacy in the world. When they said they were in a pharmacy, I was floored because it was
yeah.
so full of, like, it was densely packed. It was more of a bodega, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't really like, it was a corner store, but there's, like, rich color everywhere. Cassie herself is often dressed really colorfully,
Mhm.
in her regular waking life, pinks and pastel blues and yellows, and it's almost electric when she puts on that nurse outfit. Like, the way the color correction is done for this film when she approaches, you can just tell, like, these images when they were filming them, like, that's a screen grab, that's a still image,
Yep.
that's iconic. Her standing there in that costume is just tremendous, and the color work is really a big part of why it works so well.
Yeah, and shout out to the coffee shop, right? That safe space. It has that very pastel palette. They keep calling it a shitty coffee shop, but it looks like a pretty hip, beautiful coffee shop to me, if I'm being honest.
Not even a shitty, they call it a shitty diner, which really gives you this impression of, like, a crummy. When I heard she was doing inventory at some shitty diner, I was not picturing this, like,
Yeah.
cute little hipstery, "I'd probably pay $6 for the
Yeah,
coffee here."
Gail does not own or manage a shitty little diner. She's too cool for that.
Right.
But I also think it has the perfect name, "Make Me Coffee," right? Like,
Yes.
just the refrain of a domineering, old school, like, male boss
Right.
not giving a female employee something real to do. I thought that was a nice little subtle chef's kiss. We're on brand, on theme moment.
Which, if you go back and watch, that's exactly how Ryan enters.
Yeah.
Ryan doesn't look up and become human until he realizes that the barista is this girl from college. Because he
Mhm.
walks in, "Let me get a coffee." Like, it's not friendly, there's no hello, there's no, like, "Hi."
Yep.
He's just, "Make me coffee."
So glad I get to chat with you about these movies, man.
Likewise, buddy.
All right, are we ready for our next section?
Uh, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is media lit after all, so I've always got to ask, what other literature or pop culture was on your mind while watching this film?
You said it a second ago, but Kill Bill is the first thing that
Yeah.
jumps to mind when I think of a classic revenge thriller. So she's far from as skilled or as violent as the bride, but I couldn't help but think of Uma Thurman on her own adventure, especially the way in which we were structuring this film with those little tick marks. It
Yep.
was almost like your chapter cards in Kill Bill and in her list as she's checking off her victims. They never give us like real a real deep understanding of who's on the list, like or what that structure is. You figure it out as you're watching the 1, the 2, the 3. But yeah, so Kill Bill was all over this. And then my girl, Arya Stark.
Yes.
What more iconic, again, much more violent.
Hmm.
But I watched, just this past year, late 2025, I took in Game of Thrones for the very first time. So Arya Stark and her list, very,
Hmm.
very present in my mind still. So that was top of mind for me here.
Yeah, she doesn't have a little diary, but she will recite it as she drifts off to dreamland.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
I've got a couple. The first one for me, I hate to evoke this name, but it's kind of fitting in the sense that unfortunately, it made me think of one of the other insights I got into the mind of an abuser. And that is once upon a time, before I fully understood the type of person he was, I watched a lot of Woody Allen films.
Oh yeah.
Uh, there's a Woody Allen film uh, called Crimes and Misdemeanors. Have you ever seen this movie, Chris?
Yes.
I could not stop thinking about the Martin Landau character in that film. Um, he somewhat reluctantly decides to put out a hit on his mistress, played by Angelica Houston. She is murdered. He spends a huge portion of that film racked with guilt. He's falling apart, coming undone at the seams. And then we get a time jump to several months later, and he's over it. He's fine.
Mhm.
He's forgotten about it. He's Ryan, he's Al Monroe, and presumably Woody Allen, feeling they've gotten away with what they've done. And it was just both a sort of pop culture and also just metafictional real world reminder of how those minds operate.
Yeah.
So that was a painful one, but I'm going to end on a fun one. Chris, you've been asking me for it. I had to go full Gatsby on this one.
My man. There he is.
I had to. We'll just start with the most obvious one. Did you happen to catch the name Cassandra gives in the dean's office? She doesn't give her real name.
No.
She gives the name Daisy.
Yeah.
Of course, the character she portrays in the
Right.
2013 adaptation of The Great Gatsby. And,
Of course.
that would be cute. But on her way out the door, she also, she's taking her final shots at the dean, talking about her daughter. And she says, she's kind of an idiot, huh? Gorgeous, though. Who needs brains? They never did a girl any good. I am sure I've talked about Daisy's iconic line in The Great Gatsby previously on this podcast.
Yep.
But yeah, well, she finds out she's about to give birth to a girl, or I guess I should say she's found out she's just given birth to a girl. She says, I hope she'll be a fool, a beautiful little fool. That's the best thing a girl can hope to be in this world, which is so sad, so painful, but so on display in this film. Even the office is the kind of like old school patriarchal office that you would see in a book like The Great Gatsby. Nick Carraway in chapter one buys a book of red volumes on finance with like gold trim, and you've got those
Mhm.
books on the counter behind her. The
It's all
decor,
dark wood.
yeah, man, the decor in her childhood home, this this humble suburban home overstuffed with these wildly ornate Baroque accents. That is the love nest of Tom Buchanan and Myrtle Wilson, which she has overstuffed with all of these signs of wealth that she is clamoring for. And, her mom wants that status so badly. Um, hey, I may be an English teacher, so I naturally have a bias toward Gatsby, but it stays in the conversation for a reason, beyond failure to update reading lists.
Yeah, that is absolutely not only is it perfect for our brand for you to bring Gatsby to the
Yeah,
table, but truly apt, man.
yeah,
Excellent pulls. I forgot, of course, that she had portrayed, Daisy Buchanan so iconically. I had a couple other lighter ones that were top of mind,
yeah.
now that we've done the more serious ones, but, John Tucker Must Die,
Oh, wow.
again, because this film sometimes trends into the, like it's never silly, that's not the right word. It's more comedic sometimes than it should be, even sometimes in some of its darker moments. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, lighter fare was still top of mind, like John Tucker Must Die. Or do you remember The First Wives Club? Does that ring
Oh
a
my
bell for
god,
you?
yes.
Yeah.
I now you got me thinking of 9 to 5.
Yeah, excellent.
That's gotta be a future episode, by the way.
We're doing it.
Alright.
Okay. I think that's all I got. What other questions did you walk away from this film with after spending some time with the story? You got to sit with it twice. What's lingering for you?
Yeah, a lot of times on Media Lit, Chris, we'll ask about, like, what were some flaws in a film, or what were our
Yeah.
favorite things, and something I think I wanna do a little more often is just kinda frame these more as, like, what questions do you have? Like, whether these are literal questions about the plot or some larger, more rhetorical questions, but one plot question, this is one of my complaints here. It really bothered me that it felt like it never occurred to Cassandra that Ryan probably had some info about this Nina situation. It seemed weird that she was so blindsided by that to me. Is this me being a little too critical, or did you feel a disconnect there as well?
It all felt a little disconnected, yeah, because I know it's hard for me to picture what, like, this friend group situation was
Mm,
like, Ryan's able to speculate, like, "Weren't you close? I thought you and that other girl" No? Or maybe I was wrong.
yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah,
like, but they're all still close enough that, like, he's at this wedding.
yeah,
Madison's still clearly in touch with these people, so they seem like they were, like, a close-knit group of friends. So, it does feel weird to me that Cassie doesn't know that Ryan was more directly involved, that he would have, like, been there at that party or whatever, and it's also weird to me that he doesn't have a more direct memory of her and, like, exactly why she and Nina, like, fell away from college and fell away from the group.
yeah,
So, especially if there was, like, an accusation and then these videos went around, like, it wasn't just, like, a moment, one random drunk night. That was one thing that stuck for me maybe, that I can jump in here and piggyback off of yours.
yeah.
These people, I can't imagine a context, a version of my life where any of these kinds of behaviors would be so commonplace that they would, like, blend together in such a way, like, "Oh, it's just one blackout after another." So much happened back then,
Mm,
Madison says. And this was just like, oh, this video is like it was just like gossip. What
yeah,
if this video was made, if this happened and was present in a friend group that I was even remotely attached to? It would be one of the biggest pins on the map of my life.
yeah. Well, she's not being genuine, right? When she says, "I remembered something," there was never a moment she didn't remember that video.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, but to even think you can play it off that way, like what life are you living or what version? I don't know. Some of that was
Ooh.
frustrating. To maybe not frustrating to like as a hole in the plot, but just like frustrating to imagine,
Yeah.
I suppose. Um,
I've got 2, like, biggish questions left. Do you have any smaller ones?
I mean, I'll stick on the slight frustration train.
Yeah.
Why was the scene after the murder like sort of funny?
When
It's the
Schmidt
next
walks in?
yes, and maybe it's because of the actor, right? Who's playing the best friend there?
I think I love this question, Chris. I think it goes back to what you said before, like, these shifting tones don't always do the movie a favor, right? Like,
Right.
and I think my read now mileage will vary on whether or not this works for people. I don't think it fully worked for me. But what I kind of chose to accept it as was a form of deeply black comedy, like just dark, dark comedy. Um, there are a couple moments that do land for me in that vein because of just like the horror and absurdity of what's just gone on. Just I think it's just like the "Are you fucking kidding me?" nature of he hasn't even heard the story from Al of what happened. He's got like no way to paint a picture of self-defense in his mind or
Right.
anything. But the first words out of his mouth before he knows a thing other than there's a dead body on that bed is, "It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong.
It's not your fault.
You
You
did
did
that.
nothing wrong." And I'll admit, I did laugh both times when Al's still like crying. He's like, "Kind of feels like it is."
I know, and I know that
Like,
actor. I know Al from, How I Met Your Father.
yeah,
So,
kind of
yeah,
feels like it is.
when he's sitting there and he's like maybe he wasn't doing a great job of portraying the shell shock trauma of,
Yeah,
like, she's dead," like, it almost was, like almost kinda, like, supposed it was like we were in a different movie, and these guys were our heroes, and this was, like, faceless, dead woman happened by accident in a crazy like, this movie was made in 1984, and these guys were gonna be, like, the heroes of our film, but we now have to
yeah,
hide this dead body, is what it felt like for a weird second, like, when he first comes in, doesn't know she's dead, and he's tapping her, and
yeah.
then his reaction to, like, "Oh, when
With all
she"
the sweethearts, "Come on, honey." Ugh,
yeah, and then when
ugh.
his reaction to, like, pulling the pillow off and seeing that she, like, is dead, like, was a little too comedic, I felt, and, like,
Yeah,
I did read it as dark comedy, it's the only way to read it, it's intentionally
yeah,
dark, dark, dark comedy. That doesn't work when it's not, like, your hero. Like, because our hero was lying dead on the bed,
yeah,
I couldn't quite, like, indulge in like, these weren't the people I wanted to see having their dark comedy
yeah,
moment, especially, like, maybe I would've felt differently if I maybe I'll feel differently on a rewatch knowing what's going to come to them, but it
yeah.
feels like this film is about to end in the most frustrating way, in the most honest way, which is these guys really do get away with it, right? Um,
That's my question for you, Chris. I wanna try to, like, paraphrase a sentiment from one of our shared friends who I talked about this movie with. The reason I don't wanna say a name is just because the themes here are so intense. I don't wanna risk, like,
yeah,
misrepresenting the exact
totally.
opinion, and it wasn't like a negative take or a bad take or anything. But we have a shared friend, that was one of their biggest kinda takeaways, from this movie. Does this movie suffer by not, like, leaning into the truest possible ending, right? Where you know, this movie would probably get just as much acclaim and attention if it
Mhm.
ended with these awful guys getting away with it.
Yeah.
Does the movie suffer from not going in that direction? Yes, no, maybe so.
I don't know, maybe I'd have to sit with that because I was ultimately so relieved to see that it wasn't gonna end
Mhm.
that way that I was grateful when and you kind of knew because, like, your hero's dead and there's still 20 minutes left in this film.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be these guys bury the body and the film is over.
Yeah.
Something more was gonna come, so I was kinda primed for the next shoe to drop on them as much as, it felt like they were getting away with it in the moment. So, I don't know. Maybe it would work better, and it's I know it would certainly be more honest if
Yeah.
they really do just get away with it. If we have to see Ryan, like, at that wedding, sort of sick to his stomach, like, maybe it's him wrestling with his guilt is the only catharsis you get at the end is seeing him at that wedding sort of really unable to any longer live the lie. But, yeah, I can appreciate that take.
Yeah.
That could be more on it would be more honest, most certainly. The fact is a pre-scheduled text message that, like, plays out perfectly in time with the police arriving, like, all felt like a little too I if the creator if Emerald Fennell didn't want to do a Hollywood ending, this maybe feels a little too Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, we kinda rushed through, like, "No, she had a plan just in case she disappeared." And here's, like there were enough seeds planted elsewhere in the film to justify it, but it all does feel a little too Ocean's 11 all of a sudden when that other shoe does drop.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you think?
I mean, I'd first say, like, it's impossible to disagree with that take, right? Like, if you're trying to make, like, just like a theme-heavy, resonant film, there's a serious, heavy ending here. This one works and it doesn't for me. In terms of, like, plot mechanics, the reason they kinda get away with it for me in this fantasy, in addition to just wanting someone to get punished,
Mhm.
um, it's based on the character I keep complaining about, right? Like, you introduce this too good to be true Alfred Molina character,
Yeah.
right? So, that makes me believe that he could do a lot of work to orchestrate this in the most "fuck you" way possible, as a tribute to this girl. Um, I'm gonna give it a little more weight than it deserves, right? But there's a little bit of, Frodo sparing Gollum energy here, right? Like, she is ready to off this lawyer, but he's the first person who remembers Nina's name.
Yeah.
That's all she wants,
That's really yeah.
truly.
Yep.
She sees this other person who's also trying to punish and hurt himself for something that he's done, and she shows him mercy, and she gives him a chance to take action, right? I hope most people don't have a dark story in their past, quite like the story of this friend group and this horrific, uh, you know, rape that was caught on camera. But probably everyone could find some smaller, less extreme action maybe in their life where they wish they had handled the situation differently, etc. So like how do you step forward in a positive way and be an ally? Yeah, this is a really over the top version of it. Um, and then I'd say the other way I can back it up at least a little bit is the way I kind of phrased my synopsis. Um, in my mind, I don't think any part of her expected to leave that party alive. I question whether she was gonna go all the way through with carving that name onto Al. I'm not super confident in that, right? Like, it would be hard for me to say she went so far as to, like, leave the handcuffs loose enough for him to break free or something. But I do think she had no plans of walking out of there alive. Um, and that's why I use that language of her throwing herself on the gears of the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Um, there are so many obstacles in place
Yeah.
to stop women's stories from being heard, to stop these cases from being investigated. It's a little too good to be true that the whole arm of the law steps in to support her and ride in. Uh, but if I want to defend it as and play devil's advocate, I could say like the only way you can ever get anything actionable to happen is through extreme sacrifice, whether that is like shame and public humiliation, or in this case, she has to literally endure all of this emotional turmoil, put all of these dominoes in place.
Yeah.
She has to create this impossible situation that's impossible for these men to back out of with undeniable evidence that's like in everyone's hands on their phones for that to happen. And that's what it took to get there.
Yeah.
It's still pretty bleak if you think about it. But yeah,
No, I think that's a wonderful take. I think that it's a valid read. I do think it's a read. I think the film maybe could have done
yeah,
more to show us that intention, right?
yeah,
That
absolutely.
or the willingness, even if not intention, the willingness to die there. And so I suppose her putting the plan in place illustrated her willingness to die. If you could take all those steps to create a plan just in case you do die, and you still go through with the thing that might make you die, you're willing, right? Like, you're
Yeah,
prepared and you're willing. Um, because I do agree, like, that's why that sentence bowled me over so much in your synopsis. Throw herself on the gears of the patriarchy, because she's aware that the only way this guy's gonna go down is for something as serious as murder. It can't just be an accusation of sexual assault, a he said, she said. No, a person needs to disappear. They have to find a body. It has to be undeniable. And here we go. I do think it was part of some of what I found tonally off-putting
yeah.
when, Schmidt, what was his character's name in the film?
I can't even remember, Joe or something
Yeah,
maybe?
something
Was he
awful.
the one that filmed the video
I think
every
so. Yeah,
back in the day? I
Joe
think
was
that
his
was
name.
the
Yeah, he's the best friend,
implication.
Joe. Gives the worst best man speech, and by all accounts, "You're a real catch," she says about
Oh
the
my
wife.
god, yeah.
Just the worst. But during the burning of the body, he kicks the hand, like, her hand is hanging out of the fire in water a little bit, and, like, he kicks it in, you hear it
Yep.
sizzle. He's like, "Ugh." Again, tonally off, but it does
Mhm.
help to illustrate how dopey that
Yeah.
they are and how, like, yes, if somebody had the evidence to go looking for this body, these guys would definitely get caught and get convicted
Yeah.
because they're far from, like, smart pros disposing of this body and doing this whole thing,
Yeah,
so
not to mention his dopey run away from the authorities at
I
the
know.
wedding.
I know. So I do think that your read is really valid, that Carey
Yeah.
Mulligan perhaps, she had this plan that, okay, this is how you actually stop men like this in the world, how you
Yeah.
actually get justice. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. At the end of the day, the themes here are so big, so vital, and so important. I think it's impossible to ever do it in a way that's gonna work for everyone.
it
You've
shouldn't.
got so many real survivors out there. I'm sure this movie feels so painful and triggering, and I'm sure misses so much of what this really feels like if you've been through it, even if the intentions are good. I could see someone worrying that, like, is this glorifying
Right.
her sacrifice a little too much? I think is a fair charge to levy at this film.
Is it making too much
Um,
light of the real danger women are in when they're alone with a man? Even if they're
so
not actually hammered
yeah,
drunk, is it making too much light of because she doesn't ever really feel in danger with, like,
yeah,
McLovin, right?
hmm
But so I can appreciate if somebody, like, a real victim in the world watched this, they might say, like, you would never put yourself in that position, like,
yeah.
that's
My first time through, like halfway through the movie, before the whole like romance arc, I was half expecting Adam Brody and his friends to pop back in and try to exact some vengeance of their own on her, especially when
what
Sam Richardson showed up again. I was like, "Oh, no."
same. I thought it was about to go bad for her, like, I thought he was now baiting her, and
Mm.
she didn't recognize him. Um,
But with all those things I said about the film, um, I think if anyone loved this film, I think that's a legit read. I think if anyone was deeply frustrated or troubled by it, I think those are all legitimate reads.
yeah.
The one thing I will say about this movie is I think this is a movie that I would love to see men, especially, watch and talk about and take seriously. We're both dads, Chris. You're a girl dad.
Mhm.
I have two sons. They're still pretty young, but I think about this stuff all the time. Like how do you start to have age appropriate conversations about consent? And it's small things like hugs and stuff with like family and friends, and like how you go about those things, how you model that behavior. You know what I mean? I'm a father. I'm also an uncle. Something that's always been on my mind is like, I've never once tried to like make my niece give me a hug or something like
Mhm.
that. Those aren't things that you do. You try to communicate. You try to model these things carefully. But I have one son who's getting to the age where we're going to have some of these talks more directly, more openly, more clearly and cleanly. Um, and we're not gonna start by having him watch Promising Young Woman, but I think
No.
adult but I do think, this really raises some questions that I think a lot of men would benefit from talking about, whatever the pros and cons of the film are.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that ultimately that's what a filmmaker wants, is that folks will
Yeah,
continue to discuss their film and hopefully we'll be changed by it in some
yeah,
way. Yeah, I think this was worthwhile. I do think that, it borders on required viewing for the
yeah,
male audience, certainly. Um, and yeah, I'll never begrudge anybody their qualms with any
yeah,
creative work. That's what artwork is. Um, but I'll also never fault a creator for putting on screen what they intended to create. And I always try to guess, like, and maybe it's hard to guess, did this person succeed in creating what they intended to create, or did they fall
yes.
short of? And I have a feeling, especially based on some of the articles I've read, it feels like Emerald Fennell really told the story they intended to tell here.
So folks, I hope you feel like we've taken the subject matter seriously here tonight. But we have one beloved topic here on Media Lit that I wanted to do. I didn't want to get too cute with this episode, but I still did want to visit the prop cave where we each take home a prop from a film. And usually this is just kind of some good natured fun. It's nostalgia stuff. It's celebrating something. But I thought we could still do the prop cave with this film and just kind of echo some of the important themes that we've talked about. Kris, do you feel prepared to take this on first?
I do. I get first crack at it because
Yes.
I'm not
I think there
certain.
might be one best answer, but I've got a good backup if you take mine.
Yeah, I don't. It's kind of a two-parter, but she's got her notebook
Yeah.
throughout the film with a very specific set of colored pens that she uses to tally off the number of
Yep.
men that she has taught a lesson to. Um, and she also keeps a list of names of those men. But there's also like a sort of scrunchy thing
Yes.
that I have to believe belonged to Nina that's wrapped around that book. And every time she takes it off, she
Yeah.
puts it on her wrist before she interacts with the book.
1,000,000%.
So I need the whole setup, the colored pens, the book with the scrunchie wrapped around it for security, if that's fair.
No, I think that's perfect. That's the pick.
Yeah.
That's my number one pick. Do you want to know my favorite detail about the journal as a prop?
Yeah.
Um, it's not just the tally marks, right? Like these are tally marks. She's drawing over them furiously.
Mhm.
You can see the indents on the next page from
Yeah.
how furiously she's checked off the previous page. And that communicates so much about where she's at.
Truly. But still in these bright, colorful pens.
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting design choice, character choice to have this person like she's not gone like dark, goth, depressed.
Yeah.
Like she still has all this color in her life,
Mhm.
seemingly. And even like this book should be a dark thing, and it's not a dark thing. If you found it, you would not think this is a tally mark of punishment.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think I fully put this together for some reason. We never shouted out Molly Shannon. Um,
Again,
and
iconic comedian. This film is full of them.
yeah, and she's just there to be Nina's mom and give, Cassandra a little bit of a free pass to try to move on with her life, which is nice. But something she says about Nina is that she never gave a fuck what anyone thought. So this whole persona feels a little bit like her best Nina impersonation.
Mhm.
She really wants to convince everyone that she doesn't give a fuck. And yeah, it's in there with the colors, the scrunchie. That's the best pick. But I do have a great backup. I want to honor the same thing. There's this beautiful, meaningful friendship that ended in tragedy for Nina, for Cassandra. It's hurt her, it's echoed her. Um, but her intention to want to honor her friend who is so mistreated, it's an unimpeachable thing. And I think it's beautiful that she loves her friend, even though it's causing her so much pain, even though she deserves finding a healthy way to move on. I wish she could have found it. But to honor that friendship, I would like the photograph
Oh,
of
lovely.
Cassandra and Nina that she says goodnight to Nina at
Yeah.
night before turning out her light, just to honor that.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be my pick.
Beautiful. It has to be, gravely displayed, I think. That's a really good
Yeah.
pick. I thought you were going to maybe go the route of the necklaces.
Mm, also a great pick,
Yes. No, yeah, really wonderful. I think that, anybody who's seen the film would be moved to encounter that in your prop cave, that's for sure.
for sure. All
Well,
right.
I think we've done it. This is not the last time we'll talk about Carey Mulligan. I do think we're gonna move through some of these blind spots in our filmography. Maybe Drive is next,
Yeah.
according to the whims of the people. But for tonight, this is it. Randy, thank you again for such a fantastic conversation. Thank you for pushing me towards this one. For the listeners at home, as Randy hinted earlier, we were meant to have this conversation earlier. He got to the watch before I did and said, "Hey, buddy, maybe you don't want to rush this one," because we were kind of like squeezing it in and we were trying to
Yeah.
push the episode out. And I'm just so grateful to you for that sensitivity and for easing me through this story. Um,
My pleasure.
if the folks out there liked what they heard here tonight and want to find more of us, first and foremost, subscribe to the podcast. Find us anywhere you get things like this. We're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, certainly. We're on YouTube. Now you can find us with video content if that's your thing. So really, subscribe to the pod anywhere you get your podcasts, and you will find more conversations just like this one. Randy and I, maybe a couple of guests, going deep on cinema, on music, on television. We do drafts. If you want more Media Lit, follow us there at Media Lit Podcast. Put it in a browser, and you will find us. We have given up on Twitter finally. You can follow us there, but don't expect an update. If you do need us, look for us on our website, or the email inbox is always open. That's media.slash.lit@gmail.com.
Kris, thanks for doing the Media Lit outro. Really appreciate it. And I'm really happy that we waited on this film, because the way it worked out, I got to see a little film that a few people have seen this summer called Obsession.
Just a few.
Pretty great watch to pair with Promising Young Woman. We have another film going at hacking away at this nice guy fantasy, but doing it in just a horror forward way. There's no confusion of tone in that film, and I think it's no surprise that it's been so successful. But yeah, but thank you for shouting out Media Lit. And Kris, where else can folks find you and your work out there in the world?
If they're looking for more of me, they can find me not just here on Media Lit, but also on thepopbreak.com. I'm the grateful co-host of the Batman by the Numbers podcast with the great Dan Cohen. We are in our era with the Dark Knight. This year, we're going through each era of cinematic Batman, one era at a time, with a few pit stops along the way. We did Absolute Batman for a comic book chat earlier this year. We did a little Supergirl talk, but Batman by the Numbers is just a place where you can find all great things DC Comics. We do rankings and drafts. We get some great panels of folks to come together and share their passion for the Dark Knight. So Batman by the Numbers, once a month on thepopbreak.com. Along with Batman by the Numbers on thepopbreak.com, you can find Podolay, a Beck Hansen tribute podcast covering the entire discography of Beck Hansen, hopefully culminating with his newly announced album to drop later this year. I get to co-host that with Randy Lane and Justin Mancini, two absolute music whizzes. They've been doing podcasts together for a few seasons now, covering a handful of bands, but it was Randy's turn to pick his favorite. So he picked Beck, and he was kind enough to invite me in as his third chair, and I've been having a blast once a month at Podolay for thepopbreak.com. So check us out.
Yeah, Beck is thriving right now, Kris. Thank you so much for shouting out the new album. That should translate to another month of Podolay. Beck was also out this past weekend celebrating the music of Wes Anderson at the Hollywood Bowl. If only I could have been there. I can't wait to chat with Dan Cohen about that, who did attend the event. So jealous, but that's
Hopefully
okay.
They were all discussing having listened to the Wes Anderson draft on Media Lit, I'm sure, is a topic of conversation.
Yes. Hell yes. But yeah, while you're over at the Pop Break checking out Batman by the Numbers and Podolay, please check out my week-to-week coverage of House of the Dragon Season 3. Next week, we're going to get a little assist from our good buddy, the good Dr. John Aspler, is going to step in for me while I'm on vacation with the family to cover a week of House of the Dragon for me, and he'll be phenomenal, so take a look at that as well. And yeah, while you're over at Media Lit, we were talking a little bit about Alison Brie tonight. Don't miss Remedial Rewatch Community 101, where we can talk about our girl, Alison Brie, in a less tense context.
I hated this for Annie. Poor Annie.
Whew, folks, these two-handers sometimes are a little bit more succinct, but I hope you appreciate the time we took to really try to take these themes seriously. And we'll see you next time.